How's that for breaking the ice for you, Missy?
Yeah, boy, another bike down the hill, Sean.
Mm-hmm. Build the raft on the way down, as Sarah said. Well, I appreciate everyone. Looks like we got a few people trickling in and joining. Um, so what we wanted to talk about today was something really cool. I did a video not too long ago about a karmic window that's opening up, where we're dealing with a lot of either past life stuff, current life stuff too, but dealing with grief, some of these lower emotions. And so what we're doing is we wanted to talk about a little bit of some of the healing stuff that oh, hold on. There's some feedback. Really cool. I did a video not too long ago about a karmic window. I see you there. Where we're dealing with a lot of
Want my camera.
past life stuff, current life stuff too, but dealing with grief. Is that playing on your computer? And so what we're doing is we wanted to talk about a little bit of some of the healing stuff. There we
My
go.
camera's acting weird. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. All right. All right. I think we're good. So we wanted to talk about some of a couple of the big transits that were happening. I just saw somebody post that they were watching that video when the live happened. So this is really cool. This is why I wanted to do it, because there's only so much we can really fit into um, a short video, but we want to do a live because one, these transits, this grand quintile that I did a video on, and then also 13 degrees Pisces where Saturn's at, and it just formed a square to the sun. It's creating this window, this karmic window, where we're purging a lot of stuff. And my experience with Missy's a friend of mine. She's also a really talented a psychic, healer, medium, alphabet soup, everything. So the experience that she and I have had was worth sharing, because I think it's going to impact a lot of people. A lot of my followers are healers, astrologers, and everything in between, psychics, mediums, and this really runs a gambit in terms of our healing and how karma really, clearing up karma, healing karma to step into our spiritual purpose and gifts. And the experience that I've had with you, Missy, is just so profound that I wanted to, bring you on and share it. And by the way, anyone who Missy's just getting her stuff going, and part of this story is that right there. But you guys are definitely going to want to follow her and check out the stuff that she's got coming that's in the works. And I give you all the respect in the world for pushing through this and coming on today, because I just love that. But do you want to take a minute and maybe introduce yourself?
Hi. Sean, first of all, thank you for having me on your Instagram live today. Yeah, this is not a place I would have found myself a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So thank you for all of your help, obviously. I'm in Colorado. I believe divine timing is essential for everything. And I found myself with a group of very gifted psychics, mediumship, and that has really, these amazing people, women, that have really helped kind of lift me up. Mediumship is something I've always been strong in. I mean, I have very early memories as an infant of being able to see those that had passed and communicate with them. And I didn't realize how far it could go.
Yeah.
And I think healing is such an essential part of that. At least for my story, it has been, and I can't imagine that I'm the only one out there.
Yeah, and it's, you touch on the women's circle. A lot of my followers are familiar with the podcast I've done with, or the whatever you want to call it. I guess it's a podcast. The videos I've done with Carm and the women's circle, and there's this group of women. I guess you really mostly around the Denver, Colorado Springs, all the way out to LA area. Big pocket of women, and it's my astrology has gone through the roof, having read for all of you guys, because you're all such high level at what you do, but so many of you really specialize in mediumship and psychic work, and being able to see your charts and the high manifestation of your charts has really improved my abilities as an astrologer. But what I love is how this grand quintile, we're all stepping into our gifts right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then this transit has been happening. It really went back to October was when I first saw it, when Pallas formed a square to 13 degrees. And I'll give a little background on that for anybody that wants the technical stuff. Because this is really what sparked off our initial, digging into this, in early November. But you went from here to here really quick. And so for the people that are more inclined on the astrology side, I want to give a backdrop for this. So one of the big things that I've been tracking, about 3 months ago, Pallas went into Sagittarius, and this tour through Sagittarius I knew was going to be a call with Pluto going into Aquarius for the leaders to really step up and lead. And we're all going to be coming into our gifts, and we're going to be, for those that are really accepting the challenge, we're stepping into our purpose now with regard to that. And so when I saw that it got to the end of Sagittarius, it forms this grand quintile, which is 5 golden yods. On top of that, there's actually 5 at points, 5 additional ones. And golden yods are the finger of God, they're our purpose. And so in transit, when we've got as many as 10 of these things going all at once, it's just a massive amount of talent, creativity, restlessness. But what I've found at the highest spiritual levels is it's divine connection. And so when I saw this and I thought, wow, this is going to be really massive, that's kind of the segue into this. And then I see this square that's formed with Sagittarius 12, Pisces 13. Most people would miss it if you don't get into the Sabians. And so when you look at the Sabians, Sagittarius 12 is a widow's past brought to light, which implies karmic. Just because someone passes doesn't mean that we're relieved of the karma that's associated with it. Very often, somebody actually does pass during that. I know, and I'll get into this later in my own personal life, but on the other side of that, there is a degree at Pisces 13, which is a lady with fox fur, and it's about how we use our glamour and the power that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So most people might miss it, but when you get into what James Burgess calls the Elven Star, it's a 7-step path, very specific. When you get to the end of it, it's really the life cycle of that degree. And so, at the beginning stages, it's what do we do with our power, but the ending stage is the last 2. It's a widow's past brought to light, or a widow at an open grave. So here we have another reference to someone dying, karmic responsibility, releasing grief. And we do that because the very last step is to become a link in that chain of spiritual transmission. When I saw that, I realized there's so many of us right now that are taking on these chunks of grief from early childhood, from past life, karmic carry forward. So I put some videos out on it, and the whole time you and I were talking. Oh, and there was one other thing too. Pallas went through Sagittarius 27 degrees Sagittarius, the galactic center. And that's what really sparked this whole thing off for you and I, because you've got something near there. My Mars is at that degree, and it's part of a golden yod pointing to my 8th house. You had something about a degree and a half away, and you and I were talking one day about the Galactic Council, and I said, I think you have access. And so I pulled up your chart and was looking at some stuff, and that's when I noticed that you have. I wanted to see if you'd be able to access them. And you said, I feel blocked. I feel blocked. And that's when I started scratching at it, and going, wait a minute, why are you blocked? Let's look at your Chiron and Lilith. And I noticed that they're both at 22 degrees of Pisces, which in your 8th house, materializing medium. And that's what I see with a lot of the women out in your circles. They have something at 22 degrees because they're mediums. And I saw your 2 biggest wounds there, and I saw Saturn right next to it at a degree, 2 degrees away, 24 degrees at a degree called the purging of the priesthood, karmic responsibility. So if you want, can you fill us in a little bit, like what that's been like for you? Because it implies, as soon as I saw that, like my heart sunk. I thought, oh my God, these are your 2 biggest blocks. This is where it stems from, and then this karmic responsibility coming in, purging the priesthood. You can't make it up. It's your woundings stepping into this mediumship, and you got to purge the priesthood. And I'm like, oh boy, we got some work to do here. So.
Yes, thank you for that explanation and that lead in. I've always known of my mediumship capabilities, but I didn't always trust them. And you can't just, go to school and say, I see dead people. It's just not cool.
Right.
So there was always the fear of speaking about it. It runs down my mother's line, the ancestral line, and every every one of us, my great grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, myself, and I have two daughters. I don't have any sisters. It runs very strong in our family. So I've always known about those abilities, but I didn't realize, I just always felt like there was a block somewhere for me. And I didn't know how to, I knew there was a block, but I didn't know how to go on the, get on the other side of it. And I felt it bubbling up. And then you and I started talking about this, where the placement of Palace. And it made sense when I had my reading with you and you said, and this was quite a while back, and you said, well, you're really strong in death and transformation. And I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
because death to me isn't death. It never
Right.
has been. It's just it's a transformation into another energetic
Yep.
realm. And and I feel privileged to be able to have those abilities. I'm grateful for them every day. Um, Fast forward, you and I are getting into the why. Why do I feel a block? I feel like I've done a lot of different things to try to clear that up, or at least gain better access to it, and really honor what I've been given, because we all have abilities. They're gifts that we came in with. How do I maximize those to be able to benefit not myself, but humanity,
Right.
right? My circle, like whatever that looks like. And that circle doesn't have to be in the physical. It can be, someone in Australia, it can be someone in the UK, it can be, that is our circle. It's
Right.
just, when you're light work, it's very, very expensive. And I thought, I can't, if there's only a half a tank full of gas, how far can I go with it? And I really wanted to be able to get over that hurdle. And
Yeah.
that's when you and I started working
I
together.
wanted to add too, because I know a lot of the women in the group. They always, they mess with you. What do you want to be when you grow up? And and then it's kind of you're my friend. You know what I mean? And so it's different. But I take it personal because I know, like, here's something else with Lilith in the eighth house. It's a wound that becomes our empowerment. And the eighth house on the lower side, the earthly side, is about how we manage other people's money and so you see a lot of people that go into real estate, that go into accounting, right? Which resonates for both of us. And then we master that. But then the real journey begins where we do that with the deeper side of the eighth house, which is the esoteric stuff, the deep spirituality. For me, it's my astrology, it's all my spiritual gifts. And so when everybody is asking you what you want to do, and this has gone on for years, like
Yeah.
we all know how talented you are, and I mean you're one of the best psychic mediums that I've seen, and I've seen a lot,
Thank
and so to see this and to see that you were blocked, it really it stretched me, because I'm like, I want to get to the bottom of this. And I remember I put together a plan for you with your Chiron, your Lilith. You said, yes, this is all accurate, but I'm still blocked. I'm
you.
doing these things, I'm still blocked. And it was the fact that Saturn was right there, bringing in the Lord of Karma, bringing in this karmic influence. That this gets into some really interesting stuff, because we're going to talk about what is karma, and do we that's a whole nother topic, that how this karma plays forward in the sins of the father. But what's interesting is how, once we really started digging into it, we knew it was past life, and you knew it was past life, and
Yes.
this was a really big thing. But we had to go in, and I remember I said I'll go in, I'll take a peek and take a look and see what I see. And you told me about at least one of the past lives that you had. And so I went in, I took a look around, I saw that past life, I cleared it, but I saw another one, and it had to do with waterboarding. And I was in when you got two of your biggest wounds doubled up at a degree about mediumship in the eighth house, and you got in the ninth house your Saturn bringing that karmic influence, that purging of the priesthood, that's deep. That's
Mhm.
deep. And the stuff, the stuff is so, it's so literal. And I think people have a lot of fun with the Sabians, but that, to me, they're so precise and they tell a story. And when I saw that, I said, okay, I'm going to go in. And I wasn't ready for what I saw. But initially I saw that, that the waterboarding, cleared the one, the other one that you told me about. And then the next time we talked, I mentioned it to you and I said, do you have a fear of water? Is there, because your mediumship abilities are way more, I have them, but not like you. But when I accessed that and I saw that, I wanted to confirm it with you, and you said, "Oh yeah, I'm really aware of that life. I remember that life." And I said, "She was young." You said, "Yep." And I remember her mother was there, and she was wondering about her mother, and it was a really chaotic situation. And I saw the whole thing, and not in vivid detail like I did the next time I went in, but that when I confirmed that with you, that was when I said I'm going to go back in, and I said, "Okay, I think I have an idea, but there's more." And so you confirmed it. I went back in, but I didn't tell you when I was going to do it or anything like that. And this was the thing. This was new to me when I went back. And I've done a lot of healing work and shamanic healing and soul retrieval and things like that. So I'm not a stranger to it. But this was different. It was when I went back in. It was I saw multiple lifetimes, and this one kept tugging at me. It kept pulling at my gut, and when I went, this left me shaken. And I don't normally get shaken, but um, I knew about it, but I was looking for the other ones, and it just kept tugging at me. And when I turned to look at it, I was in the water looking up at her, and they were drowning her. Yeah. And she was in my face, and I could see her, and she could see me. And that there's not words for it. And there's a lot of healers follow me too. And I think this is where we really, this is where we have to stay in our heart no matter what we see and stay out of judgment. Because when I saw that, my initial reaction was I got mad, and my guide reached around, and my higher self reached around and just touched my gut and dissolved it. And I was able to coach her through her own death, literally coach her through her own death. And I just kept saying, look at me, sweetie, look at me. Just don't take your eyes off me. I know where you're going, and it was, but I didn't use words. And this is one of the big things that I really wanted to convey to people today. And I know you feel the same way. It's heart speak, it's heart language. And that's where the high level healing gets done when we're using words with the left brain, but when it's a heart resonance, and that compassion went out, and I was able to coach her through it. And I said, I know where you're going, with my heart. I said, I know you, because I know Missy, and I knew that this was your past life. And I pulled her back, and I saw her come into your crown. And then I looked at everyone there and was able to extend compassion and understanding to them. The person that was doing it, your mother, for not being able to save you, for every bit of it, the people that weren't saying anything. And this is when it happened. I looked up and I saw all your lifetimes, and I saw each of these, what I guess was probably 13 lifetimes, spider webbed off, and the maternal line on each of them 7 or 8 deep. There was probably between 75 and 100 women that I saw, and they all stood up and they started showing me who they were and what they'd done. And some stayed silent, some were raped and murdered, and some were they didn't step into their gifts because of this. They were put to death. And I saw all of it. My heart just started swelling up with compassion. And I said, I looked at them, and I just extended love and compassion. I said, I see you. I see you. I hear you. And you don't have to stay attached to this anymore. This is all gone. I'm pulling this forward, and this energy is this lower energy is going to be, all of this fear, all of this shame, all of this is going to be transmuted. I'm bringing it back to Missy, and she's going to step into her purpose, and she's going to carry it forward. And I saw it. I saw all of them. They're Merkabas. I saw Merkabas form over all of them, capture it, and pull it back to you. And then, it was this beautiful visual display, right? And I'm used to those things, but I don't always know when I'm doing it how it's going to translate to the 3D. Mm-hmm. So, do you want to share your experience on that side of it? Because I didn't tell you when I was doing it or anything. You just called me the next day.
No. Um, it 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 happened where I felt, um, sorry, there's a couple things that happened. It was intense. It was light filled. It was beautiful. I felt this golden light come right through my crown chakra into me, and it went through my heart and kind of settled in my sacral chakra.
So you were awake
And
when that happened.
yes,
Yeah.
that's the experience I had. And then I started feeling, I felt different. I don't know how to explain it other than I didn't feel like I was the day before. I felt completely different.
Hmm.
I'm getting all this information coming in, loads and loads and loads of it, and it's this knowing. My psychic abilities went from, and my mediumship from here to here
Yeah.
overnight. And I felt some sadness in my heart. But the love was expanding. Um, I cried. You know, I'm not a crier, and I cried for 2 days because I wasn't crying for me. I was crying for my lineage and
Mhm.
all of those women and, you know, all of those people that I was
Yeah.
before. So to me, it was kind of a two prong. It affected both lines. And once I could, I mean, I've known this about myself. I came into this life knowing that death and transformation don't intimidate me because I have seen the worst of humanity
Right.
displayed in past lives, and I believe in my ancestral line as well. So that's how it showed itself on the immediate front. Everything has just continued to build, but it's like I have a key to accesses that I've never had before, to knowledge, to visions, to
Yeah.
I mean, I've been able to, you know, I see it as a movie reel, but it's coming in all forms and it's constant. Um, and it's beautiful because everything that's coming in is to align me with my highest purpose. I didn't know what my purpose was,
That
Sean,
was
when we started this.
that was
That
one of
was
the
a
big
big
things.
thing for me.
I remember you said that a long time ago, and it just it hit me hard. You were like, and that's why everyone asks you, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's a joke because you've done very well for yourself, like in the 3D world. Like by most people's accounts, you know, you sail around the world or do whatever you want to do and go have fun, and you know what I mean. This is where you just go have fun with the world, but that's not what your path is. And so and it's stepping into the spiritual stuff. And I knew that you were blocked. I knew you were talented, because you've always been that way ever since I've known you. But what was interesting to me was that you didn't know I was working on you that night. And I remember when you
No.
called me the next day and you were flipping out and you were like,
What
do you remember what you
did
said?
you do? What did you do?
You just started talking about, I know my purpose. It's so clear. All my maternal lines are cleared, and my spiritual DNA has been rewritten. And I'm like, I worked on you last night, you know. And then we went over it, and I shared that with you, and it was something I'd never done before too. So that it was a learning process for me, that massive scale. But you know, and we understand it better now. But that was the realization of you coming into that, and all of that information coming in is a really really key point too. Um,
Sean, if I may, I was not expecting DNA to be changed.
yeah,
And I saw very vividly this strand of DNA. And I believe this was on my ancestral line, my maternal ancestral line, because that's part of why I'm here in this lifetime, is to change that. I
yeah,
know that as being one of my, you know, one of my purposes. And I saw this DNA line, you know, coding of DNA, and I saw this gray patch. And the gray patch, and neither of us, you nor I, thought knew this was going to happen. It was like a
I was
byproduct.
just surprised.
This gray piece of DNA moved out, and this light filled piece replaced it. And that was, I couldn't believe that, but that's exactly what happened, because all of these women in my ancestral line showed up and I honored them. And I said, thank you for bringing me here because your sacrifices brought me here. I do believe trauma is passed on. It can be embedded in the DNA and passed on generationally. And people wonder, even light workers, like, how does this continue to happen?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking it's stopping. This violence against women in my family is stopping now with me,
Yeah.
because I'm not gonna let it continue on to the next generation of, I already have my daughters here, and in certain cases it's affected their lives. But what about any additional grandchildren? What about granddaughters, that carry these gifts? Do we not owe it to them to be the absolute best version of ourselves in all aspects?
Well, and you raised some good points. The answer is yeah, we do, and it does impact them. But what I found is that, and I was just as surprised to the extent, because I'd never done that massive of a healing where it was all the women and I pulled all your past lives back at once, but I didn't realize what was really going on. It was my guides working through me. But here's the thing, I talk about this a lot. There's a 4-step process. There's awareness, there's consciousness. You're aware of something, but you're not really knowledgeable about it. Then you become knowledgeable through experience, and it becomes wisdom and embodied. And once we embody something, when we look back at others who are in the awareness or consciousness stage, we have compassion for them. So it's a 4-step process, right? And and I think that's so important that we really highlight the steps between awareness, consciousness, wisdom, and love, because when we move into that, we go into a whole nother stage. When we're in knowledge, we don't know that we're in knowledge. We think we're in wisdom, and that's such a key point. Guilty. I'm as guilty as anyone
We all are.
until we move into it. Yeah, but this is the thing that I really want to highlight, is that we know about these past lives. We know about the things that happened to us in childhood. We know here, but we don't know here. And when it happens here, and I love that. I love that all of these awarenesses came in, and you didn't know that I'd worked on you. And so that was the most beautiful part about it, was that was the validation, and that was validation for me as well. That I'm like, wow, this is way more powerful than I ever realized. So here we have all these people who are, chasing Chiron, right? I chase Chiron. I want that biggest wound, and I want that because that's where the healing comes from. And so people see these wounds and they know that they were abused in childhood. On the lower level in the 3D, they're abused in childhood. There's trauma, there's grief, there's all these things. But on the higher spiritual level, this stuff goes for lifetimes. The Bible talks about it, sins of the father. As this stuff comes down, how do we look at that with awareness? How do we look at that with consciousness and move that? And you nailed it. And you and I see eye to eye on this one, dead on. You got to go back with compassion, and you got to go back with understanding to these situations and move them from your head to your heart. And that was the key. And this is what I want anyone that does any astrology, any level of healing work, mediumship, psychic, all the above, to understand that when we're doing this, to the degree we've integrated, and Carl Jung talked about this too, when he was getting integrated through his dark night of the soul into the collective consciousness, or the spirit of the depths, we have to be willing to see the most atrocious that mankind has done. And to the degree that we can see it and integrate it and not judge it, and have understanding for it, we can heal it. And this is the journey
Right.
you and I have been on for the last month or so, really moving through this and going, and some of the healing work that you and I have done together, where we tune in on someone and work together, and we're seeing the same thing, and we're teaming up on it. If we judge it, if we the highest level of healing can only come from, an embodied understanding. And like, I love what Sarah says. She says the heart is the most powerful technology on the planet. I love that. That is the truth. And truer words have not been spoken. That's the embodiment phase. And I think that's what you and for me, it was one of the big things that I want my followers to know, because I want people to understand you can have the credentials, you can have the knowledge, you can have the skills. And I watch you're tremendously talented, even with these blocks.
Thank
But
you.
you've also got a pure heart too. And now that you've bridged that gap, and I've seen the healing work that you've done and that you've jumped in, and some of the stuff we do together working on people, it's miraculous. And so that's the big thing that I want people to see is this progression into true wisdom and bringing in that compassion. Because if we judge things, if we it doesn't matter. People were abused, people were all forms of abuse in childhood, and if we can look at that with understanding and get into those emotions and release them, that's part of it. But here's what you opened my eyes to is and this is going to turn everything on its head. Everything. Karma, is it ours or is it not?
No,
Nope.
it's not ours. It was never intended to be ours. So I had a vision. I was I was in my kitchen, and this is how vividly I'm seeing things. I'm seeing things like someone standing right next to me,
Yeah.
very vividly. I see all these angels fill in around me, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a lot. My kitchen's getting pretty tight here. And Jesus walks right in front of me on the opposite side of my island in my kitchen. And he's telling me, and it's interesting because you and I were on the phone at the time, and he said, karma was never man's to hold. It
Mhm.
was never human. It was never supposed to be humanity's. When we go back, and I am not a religious person, I never have claimed to be. I look at myself as a spiritual person. When you go back to Adam and Eve and the snake
Mhm.
and the apple, that situation that happened, man was given, you know, um, insight that he wasn't supposed to have necessarily because he was protected in God's realm. When that happened, that dark snake passed on the expectation and understanding of karma.
Yep.
And I think it goes back to the very beginning of humanity. And each lifetime, it just builds and it builds and it builds and it builds. And so karma is not ours to hold. It never was. So how do we clear it? And I'm not talking just this lifetime. I'm talking a multitude of lifetimes. And 10 lifetimes, there may not be anything. But then you have one that puts you in a drastic state of fear.
Yep.
And that's where and not being able to understand. So the waterboarding incident, my past life, that was holding stagnant and still everything that was going to come after it and everything that came before it.
Yeah.
That was the biggest block that I had because this young woman had abilities, but she was young and she was being put to death by association, because of association, not because of anything that she did. So once that was free, everything had the ability to come in.
Yep.
So we opened that channel of all of this information, all of this light, but I had to show up, Sean, with an open heart to accept whatever healing came in, whatever experiences shown themselves. And when you asked me about the waterboarding, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a vivid memory from,
Right.
when I was a child. And it never fit in with what my life is now. So I didn't
Yeah.
understand it. But, I had an incident where, someone tried to drown me when I was younger. And so the soul was leaving breadcrumbs. Hey, you can't step into your highest purpose. Why not? You know, and then there's this constant tap on my shoulder. Yes, you can. But the soul whispers. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be yell. It doesn't yell. The ego does that. But the soul is consistent because it wants you to do the healing. It wants you to be your highest, beautiful version of
That
yourself.
and that's let me jump in there because that's what I really want my followers to understand. That and when I remember when I brought it to your attention, you chalked it up to something that happened. And I always say past life needs current life scripting. but and not always, but in my experience, there's almost always current life scripting, and you chalked it up to that because you're in the knowledge on it, not the heart on it. And that was when I originally brought it up before I went back in. But that's a really, really big point that, when it comes to knowledge and seeing these things, even when you knew that there was that past life stuff,
Yeah.
how do you get at it? And it's with that love and it's with that understanding. And this is whether we have the right to do it on ourselves, and it takes higher clearance to do it on others. But when you're going into the Akashic records and you're rewriting people's DNA, it takes a pure heart, and that's why and that's one of my strong suits. And that's, I didn't understand what was happening. I knew that I was pulling it forward, and I knew what I was enough of what I was doing to say, hey, this karma, this isn't yours, this isn't Missy's, I saw everything that had happened to them and everything they'd done to get you to these points where you were at in these past lives. And I said, I'm transmuting this. I said it with my heart. I said, that's not right. This here needs to be transmuted. And I'm taking this shame, and I'm taking this fear, and I'm taking all of this, and I'm bringing it forward, but I'm changing it. And it's now fuel for your growth. And that's when I saw it. And I did that with the purity of my heart. And it was all through heart language. And that's when that happened. And when it gets into this sins of the father and the karma and what carries forward, the majority of it is not ours, and the majority of it is distorted energy. That's what that is. It's distorted energy. You're not paying for the sins. And there's something in the Bible that when that came in, you confused me. You said it's not ours to hold, and I was like, that goes against everything that I think. And I thought, and I always go to Jesus. He's one of my guys, and I go to him on, hey, if it's a big deal on my path, he's already addressed it for me. And so I just got to go find it. So I went and looked at his views on it, and something came up that I was like, how did I not see this? The blind man he healed. They said, whose karma is this? Whose sin is this? His or his father's? He says, neither. And then he healed him. He healed his blindness. He said, it's neither. It's neither. He was given this as a testament to God, and then he healed him. Oh my God, I got goosebumps because I thought, oh my God, you're right. And this is like, you've gone from like here to, and that was such a pivotal piece because the majority of people's karma, it's not theirs to hold. It's distorted energy that's come through that just needs to be cleared. And this is another really key point. This is all sacral chakra stuff that we're talking about here, and it's been blocked. And not just to say what's happened since it's been unblocked, with your creativity and your vibrancy and all of that, and everybody that knows you sees it. But your physical pain, that's a big one. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I can. So, being a product of that ancestral line, all the good that it comes with, but all the bad it comes with, sexual abuse is not an uncommon thing all the way through
Right.
my lineage. And I was not spared. So, I was abused from 8 and to 6 through to the age of 16. And that's enough to deal with
Right.
on its own. And I didn't feel like I had any support in my circle to if I spoke of it, what would happen? I mean, it would have killed my grandparents. It would kill, it was a family member that did it, and repetitively over the span of 8 years. So I have always had pain. I had an accident when I was a kid, and it involved a car, and I was struck by a car, and I broke both my legs at the hip joint. So between that and the abuse, my hips have always hurt. When I wake up in the morning, I'm 58 and I'm walking like I'm 80, and age has nothing to do with it, right? So, I mean, I've gone to so many specialists and seen everyone, and basically, I'm a candidate for hip replacement surgery. I have been since the age of 50. And I didn't want that for myself because I knew that wasn't the truth.
Yeah.
Somewhere in me, I knew that that wasn't the answer.
Mhm.
And when when you did that healing and I was open to it with my heart, and I did the heart work where I went back to those circumstances and situations in past lives and ancestral line, and just expressed gratitude that we were here, love, forgiveness, all the way through. Um, I have not had hip pain since we did this healing,
Yeah.
not once. I can get up in the morning. I have absolutely no hip pain. And I could see all this light come into my sacral chakra, and it lit up with this beautiful golden light. I can see color. I can feel color for the first time in my life. I mean, I mentioned this earlier, and I know it sounds strange, but I can taste it.
Yeah.
I know I'm seeing all different shades of color that I've never seen before. And my creativeness is off the charts, and my abilities are off the charts. And more importantly, I can speak about it. I can speak about it for the first time ever because, you know, I love Carmel Sullivan. Oh, adore her. She and Sherry Stolle, they have been, guiding lights for me,
Yeah.
as have you. And everybody divine timing. Everybody comes in exactly, when the pupil is ready, the teachers will show.
Yep.
They will come in and help you. And there was just always this nagging feeling that we weren't getting to the bottom of it. And I'm the why person. Okay, keep digging, keep digging, keep
Yeah.
digging. And Sean, it was an excavation project. I mean, we had to get to the basement level of why this was happening. And my higher self showed you that
Yeah.
because it desperately wants to heal, right? So that we can hit our maximum ability. And yeah, my sacral chakra doesn't feel at all the same. No hip pain, no speaking issues. Yeah, am I a little nervous? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, let me add a point there too, because you've been blocked for years from putting yourself out, and within a short time frame, you're coming on here and doing a live with me.
well, I
Like I
have
did.
nothing on my Instagram unless I'm tagged in something. No one's going to find anything because I was flying under the radar
Yep.
because we couldn't speak about those atrocities, right? There was
Right.
no one listening, and that no one was going to assist and jump in. No one had the knowledge that we have now, nor
Yep.
were their alignments exactly where they are in astrology now. There's a reason we're all coming online
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And another really important point I wanted to make too is this all started because, and I put a video out on the Galactic Center,
Mhm.
the council,
Yeah.
and people have access to it, and I asked them too. A lot of people were asking, how do I connect? And I put some. It's hard to do blanket, explanations on things in a 4-minute video, but um, I asked them. I said, look, what do you want my followers to know? And they said, if the genuine intention of their heart is to carry forward humanity, we will always be there to assist. Because a lot of people are saying, hey, if I don't have something there, and I said, I don't know. And I asked them, that's what they said. And so this whole thing started because you and I were talking about the Galactic Center, and you're like, oh, well, I should be able to work with them, right? And I said, yeah, you got your vertex there, like right next to my Mars. Your vertex is your gateway to higher consciousness. I was like, you should be able to. Let's do it. I called in the council, and that's who showed me how to do that healing. They came in, and ever since, you've been able to access them too now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. They appear, they've shown me, they've shared wisdom, they've shared healing practices, they've shown me exactly what I needed to do for someone I was helping.
Yeah.
And they gave me a lot of information. And then, obviously said, if you need anything else, we're here. We're here to guide you. But I do think that this what we've been able to do and the Pandora's box we're opening
Right.
is
There's
unlike anything I've ever seen. I and I know you feel the same. It's unlike anything else we've ever
Yeah.
seen. And guides are coming in right and left. I mean, I've seen Jesus 3 times in a week, big players. So the Galactic Council. So we're definitely a lot of support from the angelic realm. There's definitely something true that we're doing. And you mentioned and stressed pureness of the heart,
Mhm.
a level of integrity, and being able to trust that what we're doing is the right path. We're on the right path. We know we can see it, we feel it, we know it, we have access to it because
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I feel like we don't need to have all the answers. They guide us, and every this whole process for me, and I like to have the answers, but I'm okay with not knowing at the same time too. I'm finding myself bumping up against things that go against everything I know, and having to quickly rewrite this and understand it. But Jesus is one of my guides too, and some of the healing that I did that day um, ties back to my purification period that I did, and that was a really big one that I went through with a lot of spiritual warfare. It's my enlightenment purification, and he came in during that period and worked with me and showed me some of the stuff that has to do with the transmutation of energy, and that's really what a lot of this is about, is that transmutation of energy. And we have a right to do that, and I want people to, I don't need to know all the answers. I know enough to know that this is true, and that this is where we're headed as a society. And I mentioned this in my live with Sarah too. When we take astrology and we map these things out, we can eradicate these lower emotions, this grief, the fear, the stress, the things that keep us in bondage, health, mentally, all of our emotional body, our mental body, our physical body.
Yeah.
That's what you and I really have, like, and I thought I was just going in and take a peek at your past life, and so I've been MIA. For people that are still waiting on responses, I still apologize, because this has been like a major coming online for me, and processing massive amounts of energy and trying to get my understanding. But it's where I'm being led, and it's where you and I are being led, and some of the stuff that we can go into another time on the joint stuff that we're doing, working on people, and how we're teaming up on different things, and we pull up their chart, and I'm telling you what I see, and you're telling me the images you're getting, and then we go in there, and we've had success with that too. um, but it goes back to the purity of heart. And what I really want people to understand is that so much of the time they know these things. They've been plagued by these past life things their entire life, and they can write it off and say, oh, it was, someone tried to drown me in a pool when I was 8, or
Mhm.
whatever. But you knew about the past life stuff. You knew about it, and it's moving it here, and we have the right to do that. And what I want people to know, when you do this higher level healing, that karma that's sitting, our ancestors, they're sitting there with all these decisions that they made that got us to where we are. And these were your past lives, and the maternal lines on your past lives, and they all came forward, and they were all released. And it's with the understanding. And so I encourage people, especially the healers out there, to take this energy and put consciousness on it. Put consciousness and understanding on it, which means to see it. And everything as above, so below. What is it that every person in the world wants? Every person, almost every person that I can think of, they want to be seen, they want to be witnessed, they want to be loved, they want to be understood. So do our ancestors. And even when they did something wrong, and you know exactly what I'm saying with that,
Uh-huh.
because you did it. Like, when we look at them, when we say, and I've done my own ancestral stuff. My great grandmother came in within about a year and a half ago, and I cleared a lot of this stuff with her, and it was just this amazing experience. But man, when we acknowledge them, and when we say, I see what you did that went down to my great grandmother, to my grandmother, to my mother, to me, and what I'm playing out, and I said it then, and I say it now, I assume responsibility for that, and I'm going to transmute it. All those fears that you had are no longer, they stop with me. I'm stepping out into my purpose, and there's been a lot of gifts that came down my maternal line that people didn't step into. you know, and it was, I'm not saying my guys didn't have to kick me out of the nest, because they had a couple times, because I climbed back up in that thing. I don't want to do it, you know. And I know you could relate, because that's what you were doing too, you know. And but that's part of how we transmute that energy. We say, I see you, I hear you, I saw how many of your different maternal lines and how many stood up, that they weren't put to death because they didn't speak up and they didn't step into their gifts, and they turned a blind eye to the people, you know. And as we take that energy and we say, I'll take I'll take all of this fear and all of this shame, and I'll take it and I'll transmute it and I'll call it my purpose. And that's the essence. That's what my heart said when that came over. And I think that's why it was so effective. I'm still getting my mind around the full extent. But when it comes to the physical stuff, the last person that we just worked on, same thing. She benefited from it, and so I'm still getting my mind around that. But this is powerful stuff that people can do, and they have a right to do. You know, tell me, you know, share your thoughts on this, because I really want my followers to be able to sit down and get relief when they feel these things coming up. I don't want them to have to go take a 6-month course in how to access this stuff. Like, sit down and acknowledge your ancestors and say, I know what you've passed down. I know the fear of money. I know the fear of stepping into purpose, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to transmute it, you know. And what are your thoughts on that? What can you share as far
Sean,
as that goes?
I think, thank you. I think that we can't be afraid, right? Fear generates it's its own emotion, and everything stems from that, right? There's love and there's fear on opposite sides.
Yeah,
All of those low-lying emotions and energies, the low-lying vibrational energy is all on the fear side. We can't be afraid to see. We can't be afraid to see. We can't be afraid to know. This is where the awareness comes in.
mm,
Okay, I used to see all these visions, being dragged behind horses and these horrible deaths that I experienced in past lives, and knowing that, okay, this is great, I'm aware of it, what do I do with it?
yeah,
So I don't think we can be afraid. If like with my sacral chakra, there was no place for that energy to go. It was stuck. Of course, of course it was housed there. Where else would it be?
yeah,
So I would ask your followers to, if you have constant migraines, why is that? If you have heart health issues, why is that? Look and ask the question and be open to receiving whatever you're given,
yeah,
because that, even as difficult as that may be, I mean, a waterboarding incident with, a woman that was 15 and could make and had no voice. She was being persecuted and, put to death for nothing that she did. But
yeah,
it was, can you imagine what the people felt on the other side that were part of this? The love and forgiveness has to be spread everywhere.
yeah,
And if people in this three-dimensional existence, in this beautiful life that we all have together, are brave enough to start asking the questions, don't just say, hey, I've been to every specialist and they tell me this. Okay, they're working, your higher self knows you better than anyone else. It's one.
yeah,
So if okay, the doctor's telling me my migraines are caused by this, are they really? It was instantaneous.
yeah,
And we've had this happen a few times, okay, with people that we're helping. There's no place to house that karma and trauma and fear and judgment in a place of a pure heart. So when we clear that line, either ancestral and or past life, all of the energy flows. There's no need for the physical body
yeah,
to hang on to anything. And
yeah.
it happens that
And,
fast.
and we have the right to do it. That's the other thing.
Absolutely.
have the right to do that. And I see this with people that have wounding, any type of wounding. Lilith in the fifth house, it's fifth house wounding. I see this with the sacral chakra a lot. It's about their expression. Wounding around that, I'll see that there's some stuff like that too. But yeah, this opens up a really, really big topic because so many people are dealing with grief, and they're tying it or attaching it to current life situations. And so they're looking at it and they're saying, yeah, well, it's because of this, it's because of that. But when I hit on those things, when I drill into it, they're always aware of those past life stuff. They just, oh yeah, I know that I've been
Yeah.
put, I know that, I was burned at the stake, and I know these things. What did you do about it? Well, what can I do about it? This is what I'm saying. Being open with a radiant heart, and really being open to what comes in, and asking our guides with a sincere heart, especially so many of my followers I see, they have these gifts and they want to get into that next step, which is opening up that heart, but they're blocked by this. And so especially if we look at that and we say, I want to carry forward humanity. I want to step into this gift. I want to, and it's not out of ego, it's not out of power. It's strictly out of, I want to live my purpose. And I saw so many of your ancestors that didn't step into it, and it broke my heart, and they felt bad, and I could feel every bit of that. And I could feel the biggest thing with the young girl that was being waterboarded. I know it's a good read when I'm there and there's something that confuses me. One of her biggest things was she was confused. And I'm like, that's never crossed my mind once, as someone being waterboarded for whatever their spiritual gifts are, that they're confused. And she was confused, and she was worried about her mom that was right next to her. And you're like, I've known about that. And you told me the backstory of the mom. You knew all of it. And I'm like, okay, that was a really good read, but it was the confusion. And that one, above and beyond any of the other ones. And that's why it kept tugging at me, because that was the one that blocked everything. And it was the purity, and it was the confusion, and it was, and I had to send love. I talk about sending light and sending love a lot, and it's not because I'm a fluffy light and love guy. I really do send light. I work with light. You felt it.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with everybody there. And it takes for the healers, the high level healers, we've got to push ourselves in this area, and we have to step up, and we have to say, you know what, everybody needs heal. And I saw somebody just brought up soul contracts. That's a whole nother one that,
Yeah.
we can go back. Those are a little bit more difficult because they need to be unwritten, rewritten.
That's a whole nother life.
That is, but and it's like, but we can get into every bit of this with the purity of heart. It has to be done with the intention of everybody across the board winning. If what we're doing harms anyone, blocked. And that includes the people that are the persecutors. That includes the bystanders that didn't do anything. I even, in that one, I sent it to the horses, because I saw that one vividly being pulled behind. I saw that when I sent it to the horses, the people riding the horses, every bit of it. And so backing it up to an individual level, where I think most people are going to be jumping in on this, we can sit down in meditation, we can see these things, maintain a healthy level of curiosity, call in your guides and say, show me. We're in this window until December 24th, and it's really going to last until March. But the really strong window is right now until December 24th, while Saturn's at 13 degrees of Pisces. This is coming up, and a lot of the people that I really respect their spiritual abilities, they're like, bingo, I just did some soul retrieval last night. Yep, I just worked on clearing this. And so, this is multifaceted, and I'm sure that we're going to be doing a lot more conversations around this. But I think for me, the big thing is, how do we help people? How do we empower people to do this?
To help
You know?
themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's going back to being completely open. If you have a feeling like something isn't resolved, guess what? It's not.
right.
And your guides are showing you, your higher self is showing you.
Yep.
I knew that going into this, but I didn't know how to change it. I already had access to all this information, Sean.
Yeah.
You know, and we know that, right? You do, I do, everyone does.
Yeah.
Um, we all have access. I was shown those lifetimes because my higher self was trying to get me to heal it. And healing it is coming from your purest radiant heart energy and no judgment, you know, no fear, no underlying very low emotions, and coming in where there is no judgment placed on any situation, on any of the players, any of the people, any of the vision that you're having,
Yeah.
and spreading, giving love to you, who you were back then and everyone around you. And that is really what ignited the healing. I mean, it went from, it was this way one day, it was this the next morning.
Yeah.
Completely different. Completely different.
Yeah.
And then all these abilities. So when people start doing this, realize you think you got a lot now? Holy moly. You better back up the truck, you know, because all this stuff is coming in, and it's all these beautiful abilities times 100. It's
Yeah.
it's coming in quick, but also honor and be great, you know, have grace with yourself and patience with yourself, because there's going to be a mourning. You know, you're going to be mourning, you're going to be grieving, you're going to be in a state of sadness
Yeah.
for the heavy stuff, you know. And look at me, I mean, it was one, there was all these atrocities that happened, and it came down to one that let it was the dam.
Yep.
And then after that was removed, the dam was open, boom, guess what? The water's flowing.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Like it's just been I mean I do this because I love it. So when I see something like this, I get so excited about it, and I just like it, and I appreciate, you know, you pushing through with you know, now that people know your story and how hard it's been for you to step into it, to come on here. Like it's just I love that. But you know, I love to share information with people, and it's just difficult to do in a you know, a 3, 4, 5 minute video. But this is just since that I've had so many people pop up on my radar, some of which who have Lilith specifically 22 degrees, or they have a different, you know, a different wound there. Um, but the important thing is that they're mediums, you know, and this isn't just about mediums. This is people who have something near 27 degrees of Sagittarius, the galactic center, 6 degrees of Capricorn, the gift of prophecy, um, 11 degrees of Pisces, the spiritual path. I see a lot of people with Lilith there. And this goes back to some of our soul's cosmology, back to the Orion Wars, the reptilian Lyran Wars, which I actually, the first time I ever had an attachment pulled off me came from that. I didn't believe in them until I actually had one. And then it just flipped my whole world. I'm like, what? Whoa, you know, and it changed my, I got humble real quick, I'll tell you that. But that's 11 degrees Pisces right there. It's this true spiritual initiation path. 22 degrees Pisces is mediumship. 8 degrees Aries is clairvoyance and bordering on prophecy. The crystal gazer, and so many women in the circle, in Carm's, that the women's circle. I don't even know how many of you there are, but there's a lot. And I've read for so many of you guys, and I see these over and over. Crystal gazer, Aries, 8 degrees of Aries is another big one. 22 degrees Pisces, that you know, it goes on. There's a 21 degrees Leo. That's I call the carrier pigeon, the mouthpiece of God. You know, that's another one. There's so many degrees that I see this at. When I see wounding there, you know, we can get to the bottom of it. But this is the best that I can come up with, is the stuff that we're talking about today. How do we take, when we know that these things have happened in the past, how do we get back there? And it's putting consciousness on it. And Jesus solved this one for me too. When he would heal people, he never said, God healed you, I healed you. He says, do you believe your faith has healed you? That's all I need to know. That is all I need to know. And I got belief like Job. I got faith like Job. But you know, it's built on so many times of seeing this here, and so many times of, you know, going through these situations in my own life and other people's life. And for the people who aren't as inclined on the spiritual side yet, this manifests in 3D is early abuse. And it's the same prescriptive process. Whether it's physical abuse, mental abuse, verbal, sexual, we can know it up here. And that's easier to know when we look back at our childhood and we know we were abused. But what do we do with that? Do we go back? We have awareness, we have knowledge, we have consciousness. Have we embodied that? And that's where we move literally from the left brain down into our heart, and we go, and that's a hard one for people. They get stuck. They don't want to forgive people. I don't like forgiveness. Well, how about understanding with boundaries? Because that's the new forgiveness. I like understanding with boundaries. And then you don't have to say it's okay what they did, but I can understand. I went through a lot of abuse when I was a kid, and I can understand my dad, he had to pick the hickory switch that he got beat with, or the razor strap he got beat with. What he did to me, he thought I was lucky. Most people would say, holy shit, that's horrific. I got my ass beat growing up, and a lot. And I had to go back, and I could stay resentful, or I could understand and apply understanding to it. And I've worked with him since he's passed a lot, and applied that love. And this is the same process, and it's the awareness, the consciousness, embodying that, going back with love and understanding, and bringing in that compassion that heals that. And you've had a lot of that stuff too. And I want to really emphasize for people who are trying to step into their purpose, the first thing I go after, I chase Chiron for that reason. Go for the biggest wound. It's the lowest hanging fruit. Lilith, Chiron, Pluto shows us where we get hit hard. Saturn shows us where we get hit hard. And this is, in three of these things are what we're talking about with you. But when we remove the lower frequency baggage, that's when the light comes in. And so, I really want to make the point too, that this isn't just about being a medium and going back and being able to access this stuff. It's about the stuff, and you've worked on a lot of that stuff throughout your life on the current life scripting. And I think that's, and maybe tell us a little bit about that. Like how have you noticed, like when you worked on we'll say the shadow work, current life trauma, did you notice that that's when your abilities came up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine said this yesterday, and I just thought it was brilliant, because I always talk about, the baggage, the heavy baggage. And she said, you can either carry it on your back or you can set it down.
Yeah.
And I think to set
The
it
choice.
down, isn't it great?
Yep.
Simplistic, but the visual that you get when you say that, I had started to unpack that bag, that big, huge suitcase that I was carrying,
Yeah.
that, TSA wouldn't even let me take on a flight. It was a biggie. It was a biggie.
Hmm.
I mean, I had duffel bags full of this stuff. So, when you start realizing, okay, I have these beautiful abilities, I think we really know who we are as a child, right? We have this beautiful experience. We come into this life with full of joy and promise, and then humanistic experiences start to happen, and that bag becomes bigger because we put more stuff in it. This stuff was never ours to hold in the first place.
Yeah.
So, and that was just a realization yesterday,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, oh, wow, how profound is that? But, my entire life has been, how do I unpackage this? And I've done, I mean, I have done so many healing modalities and shadow work, and it's all a stepping stone,
Yeah.
right? It all gets me to the current day right now.
Mhm.
What is happening right now in my life that I can take healing control of, that I can take loving control of? A lot of us, we can't, we weren't responsible for what we were given.
Mhm.
We can't, I mean, I've never believed that abuse is karmic. I've never believed that that is what the soul agrees to. It is to learn the lesson, to get here, to advance upward. But I don't believe that any of that trauma is in alignment with our highest good. We
Agreed.
get here. How we get there is our experience, right? And some of it is bad. I mean, my story is not unique. I wish it were.
Mhm.
There are people I know that have much more difficult stories and experiences than I ever did. And I just always knew whenever I needed something, like truly, like I needed to be able to move to that next stepping stone, there was somebody right there waiting
Yeah.
for me. And it's a blessing all the way along my life. I look back at 58 years, I'm thinking, wow, this person was there, divine timing to get you to that next stepping stone, or even a few, and then there's someone else waiting for you to take you there. We didn't come into this world alone, we don't live it alone, and we don't leave it alone.
Yeah.
So it is a network, and I can't stress this enough, because when I look at the grid that is our earth, it is lit up with so much light,
Yeah.
because these are all the people, the beautiful humans doing all of the work that is needed to raise humanity's vibration.
Yeah.
We're not alone.
Those to come will do greater works than me, he said. And that's what we're doing. And there's a lot of us, and I see those points just like you do all over the globe, and I see the arcing light, that's connecting us all, and we're carrying it forward. And really the name of the game for the next 20 years with regard to this is it's about transmutation of energy, but it's about transmuting this lower denser energy out of our current life scripting, out of our past life scripting. And when it really hit me that karma that comes forward, it's not ours, and we can dispel it that quickly. It broke my brain, because but it's true, it's accurate. And look at what comes of this, and you helping me to turn around and heal has been just as much of a gift, because we can get into that in another one. But you've turned around and helped me to see things and you're continuing to. And that's what we do, is we turn around and help each other. And I hope that the healers and the astrologers and the mediums that are watching this, that they're seeing what they can do with their gifts, and how they can really, we can transmute a lot of energy, and we can help a lot of people heal. And right now it's a perfect window to do that. It's not the only window. I mean, we can always do this, but this is a really potent one where it's coming up, and the people that are stepping into their purpose right now are having to deal with this. It's coming up to be dealt with, and so yeah, it's such a beautiful topic that I just wanted to really bring a lot of awareness to it. Um, there were a few more things too. Well, yeah, I know. Oh, it's we've been on for a while, but I wanted to. Is there anything else that you feel is really really important to this conversation? I don't want to. There's a couple things that I want to go down, but they're going to be longer conversations. We can save those for another one, because I have a feeling we're going to be doing a lot of these
Yeah.
as we go on this this healing journey together.
Yeah.
What so for all the people watching, like what's your main thing that you'd like to share with them?
One thing that I would like to share, so if I may I share my experience at Delphi that
Oh
I
yeah,
had?
yeah, that's a great one.
So my husband and I recently went on a trip to Greece and Turkey. And i- in Greece, we stopped at Delphi. Sometimes we pronounce it Delphi. The Greeks pronounce it Delphi. That is where, if anyone knows about Delphi's history, it was the place where a lot of oracles
Mhm.
originated from. And they typically followed the female lineage. I can't believe that they were the only ones, but they were the ones that were brought forth to, they had all the clairs, right? They were claircognizant, they were clairsentient, they were clairvoyant, they were mediums, they were everything.
Mhm.
And when I was there, my third eye just expanded. And I do know now that they passed on knowledge to me.
Yeah.
but I could see orbs flying all over the place, green orbs, and they would spin around my head. And I'm thinking, okay, is anybody else seeing this stuff? I can't be the only one. And they're talking to me in a human voice. Who are you? Tell us all about you. Why are you here? It was a beautiful experience, but crazy. And I told them I'm a seer. And they said, oh, you're welcome here. So they show me this vision, blew me out of the water. And I'm standing back, and off in the distance is the most magnificent tree I have ever seen. It made California sequoias look petite. Uh, Huge, massive tree. And the tree was beautiful. And each leaf, millions and millions and millions of leaves, this was the healthiest tree I've ever seen, were glistening. Silver on one side, gold on the other, filled with light and glistening. They were glowing. And I see the clouds open up, and this light from above shines all over the tree. And the oracles are moving around the tree, and then they come to me. And I said, this is a magnificent tree. And they said, this is the tree of life. I said, the tree of life. This is God's gift. This is God's tree of life. Do you see each one of these leaves? And they were so excited. They're so unique, and they're so beautiful, and they're shining, and they are perfect, and they're all so different, and they're quivering. And they told me, these are embodied souls. And I just stopped and I thought, we're all in the tree together. We're all a product of this beautiful light. We are all perfect. I have never felt so much love in my entire life as I did in that moment. To know that that's whatever whatever term you use, God, source, universe, creator, Allah, there were no, there were no religious beliefs. There were no governmental beliefs. There were no race, color, creed, denomination, spiritual belief. All of the leaves were so magnificent and beautiful.
Yeah.
And there was no segregation and no lack of importance for each and every leaf. We are that.
That is a beautiful message, and that speaks a lot to the purity of your heart and why you're able to do, in my opinion, the healing work that you do. That belief right there. I've seen you take that to healing. I've seen you do that. That's one of the things I love most about you, is that you take that belief, and I think that was something that actually was an activation for you, because
Absolutely.
they knew what was coming, even though I didn't know what was coming. I'm just sitting there scratching at the scab like, hey, let's pick this thing. But that's what a beautiful story. And then there was something happened at the church too. You heard something at the church.
Patmos, yeah, Patmos. This was the same trip, and I went to the church of. So the ship that we were on, the cruise, was not even supposed to dock at Patmos. It wasn't supposed to stop at Patmos. It was supposed to stop at Mykonos, and then because of high winds, we stopped
Right.
at Patmos. And Patmos, there's a cave of St. John, and it is where John, not John the Baptist, but John the Apostle, wrote Revelations,
Mhm.
the Apocalypse, etc.
Yeah.
I went into the cave with my husband and a few other people. The cave is very small. The other side has been expanded to match its size. There's a massive crack in the stone. I mean, it's like what you would expect a cave to look like, down the middle. And I thought it was interesting because I'm looking at one side, which is very plain, and that's where John was exiled to with one disciple. This is when Christianity wasn't openly
Yeah.
accepted, but yet he was preaching it, right? So how do you control that? You remove it. So the other side has turned into a beautiful Greek Orthodox, very small church with the gilded sacristy and the beautiful oil paintings, gilded in gold. You get the idea.
Hmm.
This is what this is what we were given. This is what we believe it is. I lit a candle and I asked my higher self, what should I pray for? A man's voice, I could feel his presence, older voice. He said, who I believe was St. John. And I get a yes as affirmation many times I've asked the question. And he said, all of humanity.
Hmm.
I didn't, and and I'm thinking, did I really hear that? All of humanity. And I sat down and I prayed and I started crying because I'm thinking, this does not fall on me that I couldn't find my car keys yesterday. Okay, you sure you got the right person to relay this? Really? Really? You
Yeah.
know, I don't even know where I put my socks and my running shoes a while ago. Okay. So this is said to me, this is passed to me, and I am in the exact location where Revelations was written. I was asked what to do with it, and I was told share.
Yeah.
Fast forward, Jesus appears to me and says, Revelations is now. It is happening. You're stepping into it. All of us are stepping into
Yeah.
it. This is not Revelations is to reveal.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world that people are saying. I got that message a year and a half ago, and when it started, and Sadhguru was right. I later found some stuff he put out that's right on that same time frame, and this is what we're talking about here is we're changing the world. We're anchoring the light here. We're transmuting the darkness here. It is changing. It is going to be a new earth,
All
but
of
it's not
us.
because we blow it up. It's because we shine light on it, and so. Yeah, it's a beautiful time in my opinion. And so, my goal, everything that I do is falls under the umbrella of the ascension. I mean, it's all about the ascension of energy. It's not, money's not my motivator. None of this is my motivator other than the ascension, because that was part of my enlightenment period. I was being shown what's coming, and I was being shown all of this, and everybody thought I was crazy when I was going through it. But now, everyone's coming on board and they see it and they're saying the same thing. And so that's what activated me. And I can't stress enough, everything you're saying, it's all about that purity of heart. It's all about that carrying forward humanity, and that is, you're not going to get a credential that says that. You're not going to get a title that says that. It's a personal choice that you make, that you can't hide from the beings that really make the decision if they're going to give you access to doing this stuff. You've got to do it for the right reason, with the right purity of heart. And when you can, the stuff that I'm seeing higher level, people out on the front lines doing, I get to see that because of who my following is and who I work with. But situations like this, this is what brought us together, and it's so beautiful seeing the healing that's going on, the things that are coming in, the things people are doing with it. And I think more than anything, I want to relay to people, make those choices that align with that, and somebody wrongs you, it's okay, let it go, take that as an opportunity to evolve, to work through it. Clear these things up, these childhood wounds, step into your purpose, and that's the other thing, is that when we do this, our purpose naturally unfolds, and that's where we're headed. And man, it's such a beautiful topic. But I know we've been on here a while, so it's probably time to wrap it up. We'll do another one, but I love talking with you. We have a lot of these conversations, you and I do. So
Thank you for having me today. And I really hope, if one person we're talking to, hears this and they're activated to change and
yep,
to put down what no longer serves them, and more importantly, take a look at it and heal it. Where does your soul draw you to?
yeah,
Where does your higher self say, look, here's the spotlight, here it is.
yeah,
And if they have a reading with you, if they know their astrology, they know where it lies, right? Where those deepest wounds lie. Don't be afraid of what you see. Be afraid of what you don't see.
yeah.
Open your eyes, take a look. It can't be that bad.
Yeah, until we bring the unconscious conscious, we're held victim to it.
Uh-huh.
And you know, and I want to, because I think you know, with your social media, I think you're going to be putting more stuff out there too. So I want to make sure, because with this journey where it's just opened up, like you're getting active, so you're on the front end. Like,
Yeah.
I would love for people to follow you, and
Thank
because
you.
you're going to be you're going to be putting a lot of content out, and you're going to be, you know, and even do readings with you. I'm sure once you figure out how you're going to do all that stuff. But I would love for people to do readings with you. You are so talented when it comes to what you do. You know, it's you're a healer. You have a healer's heart. You know, and as far as the title, it's alphabet soup. It doesn't matter. You are a healer with it. You know what I mean? Like, and I go through the same thing. You know, am I an astrologer? Am I a healer? Am I a quantum healer? And I
Yes.
don't really care. I help people.
Yes.
I'm all the above and then some or whatever. And sometimes I lean on my mediumship abilities, sometimes in my psychic abilities. I don't really care. I just show up. My biggest thing is the ascension shift. And if people have blocks, I want to get that block and I want to restore them to their power. You know,
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing. And so I hope that's what people take away from this. And I would love to, we didn't get to the comments, but I would love, I'm going to post this afterwards. So if anybody has some questions, I would love for you guys to bring them into the comment section on this video and we can address it there. I'm still getting used to multitasking with comments and people and having a live conversation. But you know what's so funny is this is just how our conversations go. We'll sit on the phone for hours talking like this. You know, it's nice to actually do this in front of other people and have them get the benefit from it too. So it's cool. Yeah,
Share.
there you go.
Share it.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for having me today. Thank you for talking about this stuff, and for being brave to go there, because this is not going to be, this is not the popular way to approach this, but it's what we've been given, and we've been given it for a reason, and that is to share with all of humanity. And if one person, if it ignites one person to make changes, then we've accomplished the
I
goal.
agree. I agree, and thank you for being on this journey with me, and look forward to a lot more lives and ultimately workshops, because I'm sure we're going to be doing some workshops, and I know Sarah's involved too, and it's exciting. I'm really excited about the healing that we're going to do within ourselves, with other people, and so as we forge forward, we'll keep bringing it, and I'm really
More to
excited
come.
for yeah.
Thank you, dude.
But, I'll talk to you soon, and thanks
I
everyone
hope
for
everyone
showing up.
has a blessed day.
Yep, and for anyone who came in late, we will be posting it. As soon as I get done with this, I'm going to post it, and then we can start some comments there. But it's been awesome. So thanks to everyone for showing up.
Thank you.
Yep.
Namaste.
See see you guys.
Bye.